Hey there, I'm Julie Tam, managing broker of LYN Realty in Houston, and you're watching Smarter Real Estate weekly on Wednesdays. This is my special series, Building My Dream Home, and the dream home is just almost complete. This is a big day for us, and I'm here to teach you how to do a punch list walkthrough with blue tape, what you should be looking for. Typically, this is done on new home construction, whether it's one that you custom built or just a spec home that was built and then you just came along at any point in the process and are ready to buy it. So I'm going to tell you things to look for, things to maybe ignore, and how to put blue tape up to make it the most effective. So as you can see, we're seeing some marks here. Sometimes you can't really tell. Are these marks, things that can just be cleaned off? Well, if they are, it's great to just mark them so that they'll do it, the builder's team. Or is it something more permanent that needs to be worked on and scraped? Or does it have to be painted over? Or is it actually damaged that needs to be repaired before the cosmetic, part at the end? So yes, I'm looking for all sorts of things. As you can see, a lot of the pieces of blue tape are just torn off of the roll and just taped on. Some things like this, we draw an arrow because if we can't reach high enough to point out, for example, in this case, the recessed can light there is detached from the ceiling, then we have to draw an arrow. It's good to use pieces of tape that are big enough where it's easy when you glance around to see it. People working in construction are of different ages and have different vision capacities, and so you never want to make the piece of blue tape so small where they're having to squint or really bend down to see it, especially if it's in a spot, for example, down like in a corner, really low, near an edge where it may not be so obvious. Okay, I'm going to tell you, it is so hot and humid out here. We just got some rain in Houston, like for the first time in a while. And so I am just sweating, and that is the situation right now. Okay, so when you're looking at concrete like this, you can't blue tape everything. Obviously, there's going to be splatter and, there's going to be little blemishes, but that's concrete. And something like this is just going to start looking bad. Even if they perfect the concrete, it's just going to look bad, once you start living in the home anyway. You've got dirt, debris, just, wear and tear. But major things are what you want. Like if there's a big clump of whatever, like extra concrete material or stucco that's just on there, then yes, then you would mark something like that. So when we look at the stucco, obviously stucco is not perfect. It is textured. That's the whole point of this material. So you're going to see little, differences and imperfections, and you can't sit there and mark those because that's unreasonable. That's showing lack of understanding of the material itself. But when you see something, bigger, like you can see there's kind of overspray of some of the other random materials that are stuck on, dirty areas, and those are the things that we want to mark. Here, for example, on the garage door, this seal, this gasket is bent. We've got this panel that's dented on the side, and so you want to check that out. It's really easy to see things that are at your eye level or slightly above or below, but don't forget to look up. Don't forget to look under, like ceilings and overhangs. And don't forget to get way down low and look underneath areas like that. That's been my husband's job today because I am pregnant and it doesn't feel good to crunch down like that. Some things are much more obvious. Don't assume that they know to fix this, right? Obviously, something that big should be noticeable, but never make assumptions when you're walking through and doing the blue tape because you don't want anything missed. Oops. So here, for example, the latch hasn't been installed yet. You see that they've drawn lines. The builder's team said they are going to install, but again, you want to just mark it anyway so that you help them and not missing it. Okay, so as we're looking, there are some areas that are going to be so high, like look up there. I mean, there's no way we can get up there. We certainly aren't going to get on a ladder that's that tall to reach up there. And so at this point, we just try to look as best as we can from down here for any blemishes. And if there is something, we'll just draw an arrow to it. And even in areas like this where you think, this is ugly anyway, who cares? Well, it does matter. When we see something like that brown patch right there, sometimes, especially at places where something is being drilled into or installed against the exterior wall, that's an easy place for cracking or holes to occur right near there. So you want to pay attention to those areas especially and really look very carefully all around. When you have a tiled area, there could be one loose tile. So just visually inspecting it is not enough. What I did was I actually walked on this patio and stepped on every single tile like this to make sure that everything was tight and nothing was loose or moving around or felt uneven. And then of course, you want to make sure you get the entire backside of your house, the sides of your house, even though those areas, may not be as noticeable, but you still want to make sure you capture that. Visually looking at the stair railing, it looks fine. It looks great. But I actually went like this. You want to shake every railing, just make sure there's nothing loose, there's no surprises, because I have been to homes before where the baluster is loose. It's not attached at the bottom. And so we want to make sure that we catch that. Oh, I am sweating so profusely. So you can just see your home will end up looking like chicken pox of blue tape by the time you're done. And we're just talking about the outside today in this video, because the inside is, there's just so much more square footage. It would make the video really long. As you can see, very exciting, our new outdoor grill has been installed, which we didn't see in a previous video. So you can still see the beautiful quartzite countertop, but of course a lot less of it because the grill has taken its place, and they still have yet to put in the cabinet doors there, which will be stainless steel. And I want to show you something where this may not be able to be fixed to perfection. Let's look at the edge where the tile backsplash meets the stucco wall. Do you see how it is not absolutely 100% perfectly straight, that edge going up? You see where the tile is cut. You see some of that grout that's along the side there. And it may or may not be grout. It could be caulking. I think it is grout though. And then so it's not a perfect amount. Some parts are a little bit thicker than others. But I've been to very high-end hotels, whether it be like Four Seasons or even higher end homes, like multi-million-dollar homes, where you see those imperfections, because no building, no matter if it's a commercial building or a residential building, is going to be perfect. So there are things like that where, walls are not perfectly straight. So when they meet, and even if the tile was cut perfectly straight, it's not going to be perfect, because you're going to have to fill in the gap there with caulking or grout, depending on where it is in your home. And so some of those you just have to live with. It's hard for someone like myself who's a perfectionist, but I understand these things because I've seen them in much more expensive places than my own home. And so you got to just understand that some of those just kind of come with the territory, and it's okay. But things that are glaring, you definitely want to catch. Other things like the track of the sliding glass door, it needs to be cleaned out. There's a good amount of debris in there. If you're sliding the glass doors along that, it's going to catch and cause the door to fail and cause damage and sticking and difficulties opening and closing, especially over time. And so we are looking not only for cosmetic things, but we want to check for functionality. Now, turn the sink on or the faucet on. Check to make sure the water's coming out. Check to see if the sprayer is working, right? If you switch it to that, check for the water pressure. The inspector that you hire, a private inspector, will check for those things. But inspectors are human beings too. They can miss things. So it doesn't hurt for you to check it yourself. A lot of people think about blue tape as just, let me find every scuff mark on the paint. That's not where it ends. You want to look for any actual issues, okay? So anything where there's gaps, unevenness, there will be natural settling. You will see some cracks in your home during the first year. Typically after that, it kind of slows down. You don't really see much settling. But then of course, many, many years down the line, some more settling, will continue to occur, especially depending on your foundation shifting. But as far as at the outset, there will be some cracks. And of course, the builder can paint over those to, make them just look better at the outset. But then of course, after the end of the first year, they're going to have to come back. Usually builders will include that and just, touch it up, because otherwise, obviously the cracks are probably going to be back. So we want to look for those types of things. We want to check that to make sure fixtures that are attached to any surface are not loose, that things are secure. And in my next video where we go through the inside of the home, I'll point out to you some of those things so that you know what to look for on the interior. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you will like this video if you found it useful, and that you will subscribe so you don't miss an episode on YouTube. I also post to Facebook and LinkedIn, and I'm wishing you a great week. Bye-bye.